In the sales world and the marketing world, you hear a lot of if you're unseen, you're unsold, and the riches are in niches. But a lot of people say you can't just spray and pray and throw money at ads, all these different platforms, especially when you're a startup, if you don't have a budget and or investors. What's your approach and or your opinion on that?
The trouble that I'm seeing is smaller companies are being fascinated with all these bigger companies' missions about like, hey, we help you deliver better, like higher revenue. And they try to use bigger companies' positionings, like really high-level positionings, and apply them to their really small nature. And it never works. You probably do just a browser extension, and then you position yourself as a revenue engine. And I see the same hero banner everywhere. We help you boost your sales, we help you boost your revenue. If you think about it, any solution, at the end of the day, it helps you drive certain revenue, right?
Yes.
And so if you're a startup or if you're a scale up, my biggest recommendation is always like be close to your roots, like go back to the basics, explain in very simple terms what do you actually do. Don't be afraid to just call yourself what you are. And once you do that, then again, track how it converts into the performance.
You know, there's buzzwords out there. And I'm not a marketer. I hire marketers and I have marketers.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works and most times it doesn't. And that's not just my problem. This is the world's problem.
You knock on doors to play on a playground and a different playground as a marketer.
And now the man you've been waiting for, John, the sales machine, Rankins.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is the CMO of GotPhoto, the go-to solution for business photographers. Before that, she crushed it as the VP of digital marketing at Semrush, driving 3 times the revenue growth and a killer IPO. Get this. A valuation of $2.69 billion. She is a master of hyper growth marketing, and she's here to share her raw, unfiltered insights on scaling fast, learning from failures, and leading with authenticity. Let's welcome Olga Denisova, a new mom.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. And oh my God, what an intro. All of a sudden, I'm so proud to be here. Thank you.
You should be proud. Girl, you are a true badass. Just, I mean, how did you get started in marketing and then, help Veeam Software become $1 billion company, Semrush become $1 billion company, and now you're doing it with GotPhoto. I mean, you got game, and that's why GotPhoto got you. So how'd you get into marketing?
Yeah, I would say it all started with feeling dumb. I had my very first internship at a startup, a tech startup, and I couldn't understand a word these guys were speaking. And this is when I realized, okay, I need to be there because it feels like first super cool area, secondly super smart guys, and thirdly I just felt that probably is the future. At that point, like imagine this, more than 15 years ago, there was a small startup who decided, hey, we have mobile phones. Why don't we think about mobile advertising? It was like way before Google or any other, big platform thought about this. And I just felt probably it's like gut feeling, probably it's luck, but I just felt that, okay, there is some future here. And yeah, this is how my whole adventure started. And since then, yeah, never changed the track, the path. So have been in tech marketing, global marketing for 15 years now.
Yeah. And what do you think was the biggest thing, the number one thing that you learned that allowed you to understand what makes digital marketing work?
That's a very good question. I would say there is probably not one thing, but several things. So first, I really loved how fast you can actually understand your user if you're in digital marketing. Because I mean, before it was like, okay, you launch a campaign, an ad campaign, and you need, to do a focus group to understand, what people are thinking. But now you have, data at your fingertips, and, the path to actually understanding your audience is so short. And I think sometimes for some reason this path is overlooked. But I think it all starts with the insights about your audience and the digital marketing. Through the data, the path, like there is a shortcut, right? So you launch something and then you can actually see whether it's resonating or not fairly quickly if you have your data correct. So I think that's what churned me at the very beginning. And this is, I would say, one of my key principles moving on. Like very often what I say, I don't have an opinion, let's test. That's kind of my motto. There is no opinion, there is also test. There is only test, there is only data. And yeah, I think that's the main thing. But other than that, probably, yeah, just, being able to test everything. And again, it just feels that you really in this unique spot when, okay, you have an idea, you can test it out, and then in a very short period of time, you already know, okay, whether it's working or not. And so the second aspect to that is, yeah, the speed of things, right? So in digital marketing, you can be and you should be very quick. So what I call the time to insight is very quick. So I would say, yeah, like data insights and the speed are probably, yeah, the most important things in digital marketing.
You said something to me that's, like an aha moment as far as being a great marketer. You don't have an opinion. Let's test. Let's test. Let's test. Data insights and the speed of the data insights. Now, when you talk about digital marketing and you've worked at several different companies, been very successful. How do you come up with the campaigns? Do you do it with a team as far as the creative aspect of creating ads and or digital marketing strategy
Yeah.
to scale a business, whatever product or service?
Yeah. I wish there was a magical creative process. I know there are like multiple creative frameworks about like how you can come up with a dozen of brand new ideas with your team. I would say I always just go back to my customers, right? So just the other day, I reached out to our chief revenue officer, and my question was, okay, so what do our customers say about us? What are they concerned about? And why do we have churned customers? Why do we hear no from prospects? And I got a ton of, I would say, really, really good insights. And this is why I had this quick brainstorming session yesterday with one of my team members about, okay, we need to basically decompose, to break the feedback down to certain narratives, to certain storylines, and that's it. And then you have a list of campaigns that you need to run, right? So let's say that, okay, your customers believe that your company is not flexible enough, or your customers may believe that, okay, you're not big enough, and you're not advanced enough, you're not sophisticated when it comes to software. And then, okay, now you understand. Now you understand what narrative you need to work with to actually convert people. So I don't really believe in the creative process of just discussing, bouncing around ideas like, oh wait, but why don't we do this? Okay, cool, but how does it connect back to a customer? So for me, it's always like take an insight, decompose it, break it down to the elements, like what are the real concerns, what are the real topics, and there you go, you have a narrative.
Amen. And that's the narrative. You don't have an opinion. You get the customer's opinion of you, and you break that down, and that becomes the individual campaigns that you test.
Yep. That's
amazing. So many people come up and drink their own Kool-Aid and fall in love with their own product, right? And it's happened to me before, right? No way, man. Yeah, it has. It has happened to me, right? And it's cost me a ton of money, and it's costing lots of companies out there a ton of money. So using that framework, don't have an opinion, listen to the customers, find out what the customers are asking. Beautiful. Now, startup. You don't have any customers. You're just starting out. So how do you do focus groups, or do you
Yeah.
use answer to public? Like, how are you getting the data and the insights to find out people's pains to then create the campaign?
Yeah. So, okay. So first, good news. Again, we have digital marketing now, right? And we're able to run tests. So my favorite exercise for the company of any size, but especially for a startup, is you create several banners with several headlines, and every headline is basically the essence of your potential product market fit. And then you run these banners, and then you see what gets the highest CDR. And then you check the customer journey from the banner to your product, like to understand, okay, probably this CDR, like probably this particular headline resonated with the audience, right? But then when they landed on the product, they realized, okay, it's not really what they're looking for. And so you literally track the customer behavior from point A, from touch point A to their user behavior. And there you realize, okay, so this is our core audience who actually believe that, okay, this is the most popular headline, and this is the headline that actually attracted the traffic that furtherly got interested in our product and stayed on the product and explored it and actually spent some time on it. So again, probably too simple to be true, but it really worked for me in the past. Just again, you're not sure about your product fit, about your value proposition. You just run tests. There is one caveat to this, though. You really need to be 100% sure about your targeting capabilities, and you need to double check like whether the targeting is correct, whether you are being served, the relevant audience to a product. So ideally, run it in-house. Don't just, do it with just random agency, so that you have, the full control of who you target, and you have full transparency about who you target. So that's, I would say, the only caveat to this method.
Yeah, and that's a good caveat. Understanding the ideal client profile, right? Your ideal audience, because a lot of people are going to click on the banners and then find out, yeah, it's probably not for me.
Yeah.
Or, I want to go deeper and
Yes.
deeper, right?
Yes.
So in saying that, you know, in the sales world, you and in the marketing world, you hear a lot of unsold. If you're unseen, you're unsold, and or you've got the riches are in niches. How true is that if you have like an agnostic product or like a performance management system, as an example? So, who does a performance management system help? I don't know. How about any company that has people? Do they need to perform better? Do you need
Yes.
more accountability? Do you need more sales? Do you need more marketing? Yeah. Isn't that true for everyone? But a lot of people say, but great. You can't just spray and pray with and throw money at ads and in all these different platforms, especially when you're a startup, if you don't have a budget and or investors, right? So what's your approach and or your opinion on that?
So first, I actually just had a discussion on LinkedIn about this. So the trouble that I'm seeing is smaller companies are being fascinated with all these bigger companies' missions about like, hey, we help you deliver better, like higher revenue, and they try to use bigger companies' positionings, like really high level positionings, and apply them to their really, really small nature. And it never works because, I mean, you probably do just a browser extension and then you position yourself as a revenue engine. And it just doesn't make sense. And I experience it almost every single day. I go to different websites and I see the same hero banner everywhere. We help you boost your sales, we help you boost your revenue. But hey guys, what do you actually do? So this is like a very typical struggle because actually, like if you think about it, any solution at the end of the day, it helps you drive certain revenue, right?
Yes.
And so if you're a startup or if you're a scale up, my biggest recommendation is always like be close to your roots, like go back to the basics and really just, explain in very simple terms, what do you actually do? Like okay, is it like a project management tool, or is it like, a tracking tool? So, and you can argue, but wait, Olga, isn't it like the featureism that we are all afraid of? I think I would say we went from featureism to the extreme vague message. So if you ask me, I'm all for featureism as long as, again, it's comprehensible, it's understandable. Because again, right now we're on the other extreme, when everyone is about boosting revenue. So if you're a startup, if you're a scale up, don't be afraid to just call yourself what you are. And once you do that, then again, track how it converts into the performance. And I'm quite sure the moments that you become more specific in your offer, I'm quite sure the conversions will follow.
Yeah, good. And so let's talk about that, because earlier you were talking about banner ads, and there's buzzwords out there. And I'm not a marketer, I hire marketers and I have marketers.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works and most times it doesn't. And that's not just my problem. This is the world's problem. Startups or I've ran a business for 30 years, so I'm not starting up, but I'm starting up something new,
Mhm.
and so the buzzword out there is omni-channel marketing. You got to be in digital marketing. You got to be omni-channel. You need to be top of mind. Unseen is unsold, but you can throw a lot of dollars out there and it's not working. And like you said, everybody wants to be a legacy business or an epic business and try to emulate some of the biggest businesses in the world. So like I have competitors, Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho, Joho, Joe Blow. There's a lot of competitors out there. And I don't have Salesforce money to run ads like Salesforce, and marketers will, and neither do most startups, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you believe in the omni approach method, or would you just get good at one platform at a time?
Yeah.
Whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikToking.
Yeah. I think the omnichannel marketing buzzword again comes from these bigger companies with the bigger budgets. The main headache of a bigger company is like how to stay consistent, right? So, okay, if you're a McDonald's, like how do you make, the experience across the globe, like be the McDonald's experience across the globe, right? So hence the whole conversation about omnichannel marketing. I mean, you exercise a big budget and then you think about it, how do I stay consistent across all these channels? But again, if you're a startup or a scale up, you actually don't have these problems of being inconsistent because first you don't have this global presence yet. But just because again you hear from all these articles about omnichannel marketing and how to make it work, you just think that, okay, you have to, but again, take a step back and think about, okay, where you are now. And most likely, again, you don't have Salesforce budget. So what you could do though is test one channel. I won't say at a time, but you can test multiple channels. But again, it may not be, the omni-channel approach in terms of, launching one big campaign across multiple channels. But instead, what you can do is like you can run a plethora of different campaigns across different channels and just, again, test, and see what channel performs specifically for you. It can be paid social, it can be affiliate marketing, it can be offline, which became like the new black after the pandemic, right? So, and then you just find the channel or channels that work for you, and then you double down on them. And then again, you forget about all this buzz. Your main work as a marketer in the early days of the company or in the scaling days of the company is to show performance. So to do that, test and iterate and focus on a certain number of channels instead of, again, launching these bigger campaigns across all the available channels. That's my take on that.
Good. And so you mentioned online and you mentioned offline. And offline, I'm the used to be a door-to-door sales guy. I literally, like, that's how I made my first million. People used to, how'd you do it? I'd be like, watch this. That's how I made my first million. Hi, how you doing? Check
Yeah.
this out. Literally, and I've evolved into building sales teams, skincare, car care, software, credit cards, ADT alarms. Like I've built thousands of sales teams, literally thousands of people. And now I built software to manage sales field agents, right? To drive performance. So that's how I'm becoming more specific. We're a field software performance management system. We can manage, track, and measure when they go to the bathroom. Okay, you might want not want to know that, but if you need to know, that your sales force, and I just got off a call earlier doing a discovery with a pet food company.
Yeah.
They have 1,500 stores, 1,500, and their people have to visit 120 stores a month. So you need to be able to manage, track, measure, align, and reward these people because they've got all kinds of complaints. They're meanwhile doing millions and millions and millions of dollars in sales with
Yeah.
23 salespeople. And they're like, we use this other app and da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, they don't work. I know. I built mine because nothing worked, right? And I couldn't track my people, and you got to track your people. You got to have accountability. So marketing plays a huge role in all of this. And it's true. I love the fact that you just keep it simple, stupid, right? Don't overcomplicate it. So what is your favorite platform? And is it per industry, or do you play on all platforms? Do you play on Google? Do you play on Facebook? Well, how many playgrounds do you have?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I think, I've been to all of them. So, I'll tell you this. I don't have a favorite playground just because my preferences change from company to company. To illustrate that, so for example, in Semrush, we had, I mean, they still have. We expanded our affiliate program, and it worked magic for us. In GotPhoto, though, the affiliate program is not really working because the product is quite specific, and it's again early days I mean, it's a well-established business, but when it comes to the global scale, it's still our early days. So hence, affiliate is not our favorite playground, right? So that's why we double down on paid social, because guess what? Photographers spend a lot of their time where? On Insta and on Facebook. So I had to actually find my password to Facebook because I have never visited it. And now all of a sudden it's one of my, I would say, favorite playgrounds now, just because my audience is there. So yeah, it really again depends from company to company. And to give you another illustration, back during my Veeam days, our target audience were like really, really sophisticated tech guys, like, IT admins, like real nerds. And I had to, convert into a nerd to a certain degree. And I would start my day with Reddit and Reddit threads, and I had to to go through all these comments to actually to get the sense of the audience. Back then, Reddit was my favorite playground. So yeah, I mean, you knock on doors as a salesman, and I come to play on a playground and a different playground as a marketer.
And do you play on LinkedIn very often?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do actually. Yeah. So this has been, I would say, spin-off of my imposter syndrome that I experienced. Like I'm quite sure many do, and it was my way, to combat, this never-ending feeling of, okay, so am I doing it right? Like, do I bring any worth? And this is where I would say test my knowledge every day, whether whether it resonates, whether it brings any new ideas, any new thoughts to the peer marketers, to CEOs. So yeah, I can say that LinkedIn is also my favorite playground now.
You're so lovable. You are absolutely so lovable, and you're so smart. And you mentioned that imposter syndrome. And I'm just going to throw that out for the whole audience. Man has two greatest fears, and so do women. Hey, folks, if you're enjoying this episode and you're picking up what I'm putting down and what the guests are actually putting out there, do me a favor. like and comment what you liked about the episode, or even comment what would you like to hear, what topics would you like to hear in the future, because believe me, it matters. I read absolutely every single one of them, and I want to bring you more and more value to help companies scale so that we can grow this podcast to make a bigger difference. Now let's get back to the show. I'm not good enough and I won't be loved. And because we start out instantly when we're a baby, we start out completely, utterly useless. We can't feed ourselves. We can't protect ourselves. Loud noises scare us. It's fight or flight. And it's normal. So we start out judging, and then that judgment comes, and then we start judging ourselves. But the truth is, every single win that you make a difference in a company or someone and even an individual's life is validation of, I am valuable, right? So I think we all go through that at different levels in our lives, like I used to be afraid of speaking in public.
No way.
100%, like I was scared to death and I didn't even know it. I was on nuclear powered submarines for 4 years, and I got out of the Navy, and yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like being on a submarine for 60 days underwater, spying on Russians, the Cold War.
Of
Right?
course.
And now you're on my podcast. I couldn't stand it. But, one-on-one, I could have a conversation with people. But, I was good at sales, and I started building a sales team, and they asked me to go to the front of the room and to run an impact, right? An impact meeting is boom, go teach the people what you're doing to make an impact to increase their sales, because you're the top sales guy. You've been the top sales guy for 3 weeks straight,
Yeah.
and you're brand new. Because I didn't care. I just needed to make money, and I was happy to be out of the Navy.
Yeah.
And I went up there to do a presentation, and I froze. And the manager just hit me. He's like, "Go ahead." And I'm like, I forgot what I was going to say. And he's like, "Go ahead. You got this. John, just tell them what you do every day." I say, I go out there, I run my ass off, and I see more people than all of you every day, and I will continue to do it every day. And if you do that, then you'll do higher sales than me. That's it. Bye. I just never knew. I was so scared. And I had to get over this fear, because then I had imposter syndrome. I was like, holy, I gotta solve this. How am I ever going to be successful if I can't be a leader and speak in public? So every time I got the opportunity to speak, I took it, scared to death. And the more afraid I was, I was like, people would say, "Who's going to speak?" I say, "Me." And then I'm like, fuck, why did I say that? But I just go. I'm like, let's go. Let's go. I did it in Germany. I did it in America. I did it in Japan to the hardest audiences in the world. I did it in Australia. And I'm like, you know what? If they can do it, so can I.
Yeah.
And that's what you just got to do.
Yeah.
So it's been a great journey. I love hearing your story and hearing your journey, because it makes so much sense to me. And we're talking about marketing, folks, how to attract customers. What is marketing? Because marketing and sales are always at each other's throats.
Oh, it's never ending tug of war. Yeah, no, it's
Talk to me, Olga. Talk to me.
Yeah, so no, I've experienced it in every single company. There is certain, tension between like sales and marketing, and it's never ending saga of, leads are not good enough. No, you guys are not converting them good enough. And I think it all starts with leading by example, like again, sitting at the table together with chief revenue officer. I mean, with any sales leader, depending on where you are, and starting this honest conversation, like, okay, let's forget the theory or the philosophy of who does what, and just let's be pragmatic. What can we do right now to make it work? And that's in general my, I would say, pretty universal recipe to ending any any difficult conversations. And this, bumping heads of like, okay, who is right and who is what and who gets attributed for what. It's like, okay, let's be practical. Right now, what can we do? What can we change? And what is going to make a difference? And once you start working on the action plan together, all of a sudden you forget that, okay, you are, on the opposite sides. And then instead you start to work together. And then you have your first wins together. And then all of a sudden you have something to share, to celebrate together. And then, step by step, project by project, you get closer. Yeah, obviously, again, it does not resolve everything, and to a certain degree, any competition can be, also quite beneficial for the company. And again, it won't solve all the issues, but starting somewhere and having shared wins is where you start this really, really true collaboration, not just on words.
Yeah, I get it. And do you have a criteria? Because I mean, even in the corporate world, we've separated leads. The labeling of leads are you have QL and you have SQL. So that this is marketing qualified leads. These are good leads. They're marketing qualified leads. All right. And then you have the salespeople say, well, those aren't sales qualified leads.
Yeah.
So how do you, well, I know how your methodology, you sit down and say, how can we fix this, right? But do you believe there's a difference between QLs and SQLs?
Yeah, so first, I'll be very honest. Whenever I join any marketing organization, my first ask is, okay, what KPIs do we have? And do we actually need them? And you actually see it across the whole industry, right? So we're questioning, okay, do we actually need MQLs? Do we actually, just, bury it as a KPI and focus on something else instead? And something else instead can be a sign up on a product, which obviously is a certain purchase intent, very, again, tangible one.
Yeah.
So this can be it. Another thing is it's about, okay, if we have SQLs and if we want to have SQLs, it's important that you sit down with the sales team and together you actually put a definition to what is that. And then you sign together under it, right? So because very often what happens is, let's say you still need MQLs because you work, let's say, on medium to enterprise clients, right? And there is a longer customer journey, right? And multiple decision makers, and you really need, to have this longer, progression across the journey. So let's say you still need MQLs. So instead of just marketing, putting a definition to what MQL is, you invite the sales team and you say, okay, this is what we consider to be an MQL. Do you agree or disagree? And if you disagree, what would you like to change? And so the moment that you have an opinion on someone other's KPIs, and then you put a veto or you put a yes to this, all of a sudden, this friction goes away, right? Because wait a minute, just define this metric by yourself. As a salesperson, you said, okay, this is what MQLs are, and we believe it's going to work. And the same for the marketing team for SQLs. I believe there is no definition, no metric, no KPI that can be universally applicable. You need to redefine what you consider an MQL or SQL in every single company. So that's why I'm not sure, like, okay, this is the way that you need to treat MQLs. It can vary from company to company, but most important, have the sales team refine it and vice versa.
Yeah, love it. And so now I want to talk about the online to offline because I was an offline guy,
Yes.
and now
Yes,
I'm
you were.
doing, and I just closed my biggest sale, as a software company myself. And I went in the field and I met the guys and it took me 4 months, but it's it's a $100,000 deal. And, it's a good,
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
love to sell because for me,
Yeah.
selling is helping and I love to help people. So sales are easy. Don't be sleazy. Sales are easy. Don't be sleazy.
Okay,
Get in
fair
there
enough.
and get in there and help someone.
Yeah.
Right. And what has been your best campaigns, but I want to hear your take on offline. What's your approach to offline? Because you're a digital marketer, but you
Yes.
also mentioned offline. So obviously you have, experience doing both. What's
Yeah.
been your best campaign or your experience doing
Yeah.
offline?
Oh, I love it. So first, yes, even though I'm a digital marketer, I did work with the offline. I think the main difference from the usual, standard traditional offline marketing was that our offline ads were the continuation of the digital message. So this is when we talk about this omni-channel approach, right? So if you decide to run a campaign to have it both online and offline, okay, think that there is this, super smooth experience in between the channels. I think my favorite campaign probably goes back to my Vim times when again I was a part of this, now unicorn company, and what we used to do, we used obviously to do trade shows, right? And so the usual approach to the trade shows is, okay, you purchase certain offline banner at the venue, probably next to the venue, and that's it. Our approach here was to be on the way to the venue from airport to the venue. And so imagine that you're attending a certain trade show, right? So you get off the plane, you go to pick your luggage. There is a banner saying, "Hey, we welcome you to the city. See you soon at the trade show." Then you go to take a taxi, and then there is ad in the taxi. "Hello, here is a treat on us," or "This ride is on us." Sometimes we would give away, certain coupons for taxis. "Welcome." Then you go to the hotel. And guess what? We brand the keys, or we have certain gift baskets in the hotels, or inside your hotel room. There is a brochure speaking
All
about
right.
us.
Now you're seducing me.
Okay, yeah, I'm seducing you to becoming a really, really, really good marketer. But that's not when it ends. When you come to the venue itself, obviously again it's branded, but this is where the digital marketing online comes into play. This is where we exercised geofencing. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with geofencing or not, but basically it's like when your targeting is super, super specific and super narrow. So what we would do, we would run Facebook ads, Google ads, like all types of digital ads, but they will be run only within a kilometer around this venue. And so it means you log into your Facebook and then you see a banner saying, "Hey, happy to see you at this event. Stop by this booth. You will see, this educational talk about this and that." I now realize it may sound scary because
Yeah,
it does feel,
you went from seducing me to now I feel like I'm being stalked.
yes, exactly.
You're stalking me.
Yeah, well, the chances are you may not have noticed, certain ads, but what we do know from the feedback, from the tweets that we received, people were amused. They were like, "Oh my God." At that point, I remember our corporate color was green, and we were receiving tweets from all different users saying, "Guys, you just painted Las Vegas in green." But the impression that we got, we actually did not purchase again all the billboards. We actually were very, very budget constrained. It was all about pretending that we are everywhere and following the user's route. You see the point? So
Yeah,
again,
I love
users,
it. It's
yeah,
amazing.
so I think it all goes back again to the question of, if you do offline, think about it strategically, but also think about it from user's perspective. Like, okay, I land in Las Vegas, I go to this trade show. Okay, so what do I do? And then you come up with an idea. So that's one of my favorite examples.
I love it. Fantastic. And how successful was the campaign?
It was phenomenal. Again, we received really, really good feedback, but it was since we operated in this, mid-market to enterprise field. Obviously, we did not expect any specific conversions. It was more about, staying top of mind, and impressing people, because again, no one will be impressed just by another billboard. And this is the conversation that I'm having with my team. It does not really matter the means of communication. the concept is what matters. And so for us, it was like the concept of like, hey, we're here together with you, we're enjoying the show, and so we are inviting you to do it together.
Yeah, you become top of mind and trusted
Yep,
when
that's
you're,
exactly that.
you know, and you're everywhere. You're
Yep.
everywhere. So, what has been your most successful digital marketing campaign?
Most successful digital marketing campaign? That's a good question because I have had a few. So I now need to pick a winner. Let me think about it. I mean, there are different types of campaigns, right? So obviously there are what I call hybrid campaigns when, there is brand element and lead generation element. I think here the most interesting part of the campaigns that I ran, like of the hybrid campaigns that I ran was, okay, how do you make sure that everything is consistent, like I said before, right? So when you run omnichannel, so offline, online experience is still like the same. But I think I think it's not that impressive. It's really, I would say, it's almost boring. But what you do is like, what I usually use is I use the 3-step framework. So I divide the user experience in 3 stages, like attract, engage, convert. And then I make sure that, okay, we have like certain content and certain creative appealing to every stage of the customer journey. And we all know that journey is not linear, but this is more for us to understand, to have something to speak to different concerns that users or topics that users may have every step of their way to the purchase, right? And so we come up with certain, attract assets, which is more, can be, more creative, more generic, the fun element to that. Then you go to the engage, where you do not necessarily talk a lot about your product, but more educating users, about, okay, this is the solutions that we have. And then you obviously go to the convert. And I think one of the best examples is the Semrush campaign that we ran a couple of years ago. And it was all about putting the customer in the center, or what we call it, in the spotlight. So it was like, again, this massive campaign, all 3 stages, attract, engage, convert. The difference was that we put a face to this campaign. So we found this young analyst from New York who actually won some award as a promising analyst. Unfortunately, I don't remember the nomination, but the point is she was brilliant. She was brilliant in analytics. She actually used Semrush. And she was an actual user of Semrush. Again, really, really big fan. And so we literally put her in the spotlight and her experience. And we said, okay, why do we talk about Semrush? Why don't you talk about Semrush and your own experience? And then again, we made sure that she describes her journey again through this attract, engage, convert framework. And it really worked. I think one of the other aspects why it worked was not only customer in the very center, and again, this very thorough approach of 3 stages, but also the fact that we decided to approach it as a bit from the B2C perspective, not usual B2B, because usual B2B campaign is all about profits, all about efficiency. But this time, the moment that you, again, put a real person, all of a sudden it becomes emotional, and it becomes, more humane, I would say, and human. Because all of a sudden you experience, this career journey, right, together with this person who uses Semrush and happens to win an award partly because of Semrush, but most importantly, just because, again, she's young, she thrives in in her career, and you just, co-live this experience with her. Yeah, this emotional element, I think this is what very often is missed in B2B marketing. All we talk about is, again, revenue numbers and all these facts. But at the end of the day, it's humans who buy your product. And so you really need to create this human experience. Then it will work.
Brilliant. Now I'm going to ask you
Yes.
a deeper question.
Yes.
You're amazing, Olga. You've had amazing success. You've helped companies become unicorns. Tell me about, what was your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Oh, I had so many. I really need to pick one. I think I think my biggest failure was actually, I hate to sound pretentious, but like not believing in myself. Because when you don't really believe in yourself and you undermine yourself internally every step of your way, it actually stands in the way of your performance, of company's performance, because instead of focusing on result, you focus on your own feelings or on your own, again, failed dreams or anything. And I mean, no one is happy from this situation, right? It's also about, the trust in your leaders, for example, or in your mentors. Because I remember, like, I would be promoted by someone and I would be, but why? And it's as if, like, I don't only trust my own self, but also like their judgment. Like, and at some point I was like, okay, Olga, you may not believe in yourself, but the bare minimum that you can do is just to trust your leader. Okay, so if they nominate you to do something, then probably they see something in you. And that was, like, I would say, my journey to actually becoming both a better marketer and a better leader, is putting a little bit more trust in others. And all of a sudden I started to trust myself more. And I would say that was like the common denominator of my failures, is not believing in myself, and hence undermining, the trust of others.
And have you ever had a failed campaign? I know you've had lots, but have you ever had one that you're like, okay, this is going to work?
Yeah.
And it blew up and it just didn't work.
So yeah, well, for example, this affiliate launch, like the affiliate channel that I referred previously in GotPhoto, this is like a recent wound, I would say. So that's why I mentioned. So when I came to GotPhoto, I was like, guys, like, I mean, in my past experience, affiliates, or in general, like channel marketing, worked magic. So we really need to scale it hard. And I think the biggest mistake was not, like, launching the affiliate program, but trying to do it perfect from the very start instead of test and iterate approach, which I am the biggest fan of. I was so convinced that it doomed to be a success that I decided, like, to do it like perfect from the very beginning. And so we spent so much time on, like, figuring out like how it should be, and thinking over like all the minor details, only to know later that, again, it's not that scalable, just because the solution is quite specific, and hence, the broader marketing won't work. So yeah, that's a fresh wound. And again, my biggest two lessons. So first, again, never use your past experiences as a navigator. Every time you need to reinvent your success formula. So that's lesson number one. And lesson number two, test and iterate. Better done than perfect.
And you said it in the beginning of the podcast. Don't have an opinion.
Don't have an opinion.
You doing what you know, and then you blow.
Yes.
I love your humility, and most people, the proven experts out there, have humility, because I got to tell you, I've failed a lot more times than I've succeeded in actuality. But as long as you keep shooting shots, and you keep getting wins, and as long as you learn, because if you don't learn, oh my God, that lesson's going to come again. So a final question.
Yes.
But I'm not going to promise, because you're that good. You've worked with, big budgets and unicorns and stuff. But for startups out there working on a tight budget, how would you decide, or what strategy would you use? Would it be a product-led growth, a sales-led growth? Like, have you ever worked with a small budget and been able to scale?
Yes. And I'll tell you even more, like my very first scale up that then, exploded. For a year, I worked with zero budget. So it was 100% organic growth. At that point,
You're hired.
Yeah, so, and the recipe to any startup on a lean budget is community. And this is what I exercised again 13 years back, like this startup that I mentioned. It was all about like guerrilla marketing and community because yeah, you don't have budget, but you have people who may really be excited about your product, and especially if you listen to the feedback, if you really listen to the pains. I mean, people are very open about what bugs them. So all you need to do is again to go to Reddit, let's say, and start a thread like, okay, guys, like, what do you think about this? And people are so generous in sharing, their views, both negative and positive, and use negative to grow, use positive to generate word of mouth, and yeah, like giving back to community as well is the answer. Like start the referral program. And again, you're on a tight budget, but again, probably you have some budget, or probably your referral program won't be the monetary one. Probably it will be about, additional feature being released to those who get referred and who refer. So, I mean, you can be playful around it, but community is the answer.
You're brilliant, Olga. I'm so grateful for your time. You're a blessing. You're the real deal. If people want to work with you, where do they find you? And I know you're not willing to work with everyone because obviously quality over quantity.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, so I continue to battle my imposter syndrome. So you can find me there, and let's stay connected. And I always welcome newcomers, especially when they share again their lessons, their experience. So yeah, we'll be happy to see you there.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Olga Denisova. That's a wrap, folks. Thanks for joining me today. And if you got value from this episode, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and refer a friend. And if you want even more value, go to thesalesmachine.com, click on resources, and there's tons of resources there to increase profits and drive performance in your business. Right on, come on.